Chapter 5. Devyn and Isaac tailed the woman as she hurriedly made her way along the streets, trying hard not to draw too much attention to their van as they did so. "Should she be moving around so much in her state?" Devyn asked, her voice full of concern.
"I doubt it," Isaac responded. "But whatever has happened to her, I don't think she has much choice in the matter."
Devyn sighed deeply, turning her attention back to the woman.
"She seems to be waiting for the bus. Should we go talk to her now?" Isaac asked.
"You think she's going to get inside a van with a couple of creeps?" Devyn said. Isaac shrugged.
"We're hardly a couple of creeps."
"You clearly don't understand what it's like to be a woman. Women get lifted off the streets by a man and a girl all the time, driven someplace, held hostage, and yeah, no thanks. We'll trail the bus and see where she gets off. Remember, the more comfortable she is, the better things will go," said Devyn. Isaac nodded, waiting patiently for the stranger to board the bus. It turned slowly away from the main streets, and they followed at a distance. Their target got off 2 stops farther along and then proceeded on foot. The van continued to follow her at a crawl for several blocks, keeping her in sight, but also far enough away to not draw too much attention. At times, the woman walked so slowly that the van almost stalled, yet still she didn't seem to notice them, lost as she was in her own apparent melancholy and reflections.
"We must be close now," Isaac said.
And close they were, the woman finally stopping in front of what looked like a vacant house, with boarded-up windows and an overgrown lawn, the front door decorated in police no-entry marker tape. The rest of the street didn't look much better, but it was clear that just a few weeks ago, this had been a relatively normal neighborhood. Isaac brought the van to a stop a few houses down and waited.
"See that notice and the tape across the door? I think she might have been evicted," Isaac stated.
"Evicted?" Devyn asked, perplexed. "Poor thing. But who would evict a pregnant lady during a global crisis? Not to mention this time of the year? It's freezing," she added. Isaac made no response and frowned toward the woman. She was ducking under the tape that ran across the front door.
"There, she's in. Do we go now or wait?"
he asked.
"She might even be perfectly fine."
Then he visibly flinched at his own statement. Isaac shut off the engine, winding down the window on his side of the van. "Well, she's clearly not fine," Devyn huffed, but she calmed down. Isaac was trying, at least, and he'd been willing to consider helping. "Give her some time. We don't want her thinking we're stalkers, do we?"
"Aren't we stalkers, though? We've been tailing her for almost an hour," Isaac replied.
"Yes," Devyn said with a slight smile, "but she doesn't need to know that. We'll wait." "Really, Alice? You just had to cut the power, huh?" Tara closed the front door behind her slowly, careful not to make too much noise. She hadn't been expecting the power to be disconnected so soon and had to wait a minute for her eyes to adjust to the gloom. The boarded-up windows were restricting whatever daylight remained outside from lighting up the interior. She felt her way around till she found the rechargeable lamp. "Whoa, that's bright." She adjusted the luminance with a flick of the knob and set it down on the kitchen countertop. There was a half-drunk prepackaged iced tea sitting there, further proof that the landlord's new wife Alice had been there to shut off the power. Probably shut off the water, too. A quick check on the faucet in the sink told her otherwise. Apparently, she'd forgotten. Small mercies. So at least there's running water. That's better than nothing. Wish the heat was still on, though. Tara rubbed her belly. She'd gotten used to the less intense kicks and pains, and as her child kicked out again, it was more amusing than painful. "See? Today wasn't so bad, kiddo. I told you I'd take care of things, and I meant I've got this. I know what I'm doing, and everything will be just fine. There are some setbacks, but I'm still on top of it. It'll take time, but just trust me, okay?" Her stomach rumbled loudly, and the weakness and fatigue returned to her all of a sudden. After walking into the den, she grabbed a blanket off the couch, wrapped herself up tight, and made her way back to the kitchen. Opening the overhead cupboard, she was relieved to see that the crackers and tuna were still where she'd left them. She took the crackers with her into the den, and as she ate them slowly on the couch, a tear rolled down her face, despite her best efforts to contain it. "Mommy's sorry, baby. I wish I had something better to feed you today. This is all Mama could find. God is still trying to punish me, baby. But it's okay. I have something for him. Mama will take care of you just fine." Tara tried to suppress her sadness, intent on avoiding more tears. Instead, she let out a laugh, imagining what she must look like, huddled here in the dark, in her once bright and cheerful home. But the laugh was hollow and reflected how she really felt, low, desperate, and sad. "Okay, it's been long enough. Ready to go?" There was no response. Devyn turned to see that Isaac had dozed off. "Hey, Gramps, wake up," she said, giving Isaac a nudge. "Huh?" Isaac woke with a start, blinking rapidly. After a few seconds, his head cleared and he nodded, exiting from the van to join Devyn, who was already outside waiting. "What time is it now?" he asked, stretching his arms upward. "It's 5. She should be settled in." The duo walked along to the house that Devyn had watched eagle-eyed for the past hour. The entire street was quiet, giving off a feeling of eeriness as they made their way down it. After reaching the door to the house the woman had entered, Isaac reached out to knock. Hold on, Devyn insisted. He stopped his hand mid-gesture, shooting Devyn a quizzical look. "What now?" he asked. "We don't know what she's been through, right? So maybe she'd be more receptive to seeing me than some weird-looking old guy at her door, don't you think? We wouldn't want to scare her," Devyn replied. Isaac looked a little offended. "I'm not a weird-looking old guy," he said under his breath, but conceded to the general message, stepping aside, so it was Devyn she'd see first. "Give me a minute to make sure she's fine, okay?" Devyn instructed. Devyn stepped forward, pausing for a moment to think through the situation. Then she waved her hands at poor Isaac to back up even further, as if she was rescuing a frightened kitty from underneath a car. Why am I so drawn to this woman? Devyn thought. She'd felt it as soon as she had laid eyes on her, this inexplicable need to go to her, to make sure she's okay. Something more than she could currently grasp was happening, but there was no need to question what it could all mean right now. She would trust her instincts and go with her gut. After a deep exhale, she knocked softly on the door. Tara, in a state of half-consciousness, heard the soft knock on the front door. She'd been halfway to dreamland, and ordinarily, it wouldn't have been enough to even rouse her, but given her current situation, she was more on edge than ever before, hypervigilance strangely overwhelming her fatigue. As she stood up, her mind raced, fear gripping her heart. Is crossing official eviction tape a punishable offense? Or is it an intruder? Someone willing to take the same chance I did? What if some violent drug user comes in? The knock had not been aggressive or urgent, but that didn't mean that she was safe. Maybe someone outside, someone official, had spotted the small amount of light from her rechargeable lamp. Her mind flashed back to the eviction earlier in the day, and the fear gripped her heart even tighter. But the only thing she wanted even less than another unwanted visitor was to sit there in uncertainty, not knowing who it had been, then wondering when they might stop by again. She made her way to the door, hesitating as she reached out for the handle. What if things are about to get worse? Could they get worse? Probably. Tara had a strange feeling that if she answered the door, something terrible would happen. But at the same time, something seemed to compel her to open it. And it was a strangely familiar feeling, the same one that had driven her home in the first place. "Who is it?" she called out, but no voice came from the other side. They probably couldn't hear, because right now the outside air was thick with the frequent and familiar noise of police sirens, the cops no doubt on their way to evict some other poor troublemakers or to break up a fight. Tara took a deep breath, turning the knob on the door. "Hi. Sorry to bother you. I'm Devyn, and this is my friend, Isaac." The woman standing in front of her was beautiful, with a mysterious smile. Behind her stood a man. He looked kind of weird to her, but there was an intelligence in his eyes. He didn't seem at all threatening. And as for the girl, well, Devyn looked sweet and caring and warm. She had an expression of understanding, one that made Tara want to burst into tears. Of course, none of this meant they weren't trouble. Looks could be very deceiving. Everyone had heard of couples who worked together to lure unsuspecting, vulnerable strangers into dangerous situations. Tara was acutely aware of it all. But for some reason, she wasn't scared at all. She was curious. When Tara made no response, other than to look at them inquisitively, Devyn continued. "We saw you walking earlier and we thought you could use some help, being in your condition and all." The woman looked down at Tara's belly, making it clear what she meant by "in your condition." Tara, who had been scanning for signs of weapons, followed her gaze. Ah, right, that. Well, yes, kinda obvious. How far along are you now? Devyn asked. She flinched and looked as if she wished her own mouth would just stop talking. Wait, who are you people? Tara inquired. And now she shrank from her own tone, aware she had sounded very impolite too. This was not the best start. Well, this is too weird. Seeing the reluctance to go into further details about who they were, Tara pushed past the odd feeling growing in her gut and began shutting the door.